we met in China, surprise, surprise, at a green event in China. And I knew he was living here, and he had told me about his recycling station, and I thought, let's check out this condo. And you know, I decided, okay, this seems like a nice place, the party is out there, you know. Let's move into Seri Raja Chulan condo. So, and the recycling station was on Gregor's floor. We can go up there in a while. You'll see the historical recycling station. It was just on one floor, and it was the old style. Gregor's was collecting it and then bringing it to the recycling station. I'm always wondering, the cleaners must have thought, this nasty Mansala guy, he is taking away our valuable recyclables. And he is collecting it and he is bringing it to the recycling station to make money from it. It wasn't because of making the money, it was just to do the recycling. But at that time, we hadn't really talked with the cleaners. You didn't realize they are recycling themselves, right? So it was, I think, April 2009, when we were doing this big mega tree planting event at Raja Musa Peat Swamp Forest. I think we had 1,000 people turning up. It was the biggest ever tree planting event. Maybe anyone here who was there? Bernard? Adrian?
Yeah.
It's 2009. It was very wet. It was very swampy. Everything was flooded. We had this big tree planting event, and we were kind of overwhelmed by roughly 1,000 people turning up. That was like the biggest tree planting event ever in the Raja Musa Peat Swamp Forest. And Alam Flora was there. And then we were talking, and then I saw the Alam Flora guy. I said, hey, come. Why don't you visit our condo? Let's see whether we can make the condo recycling happen in all the condo, whether you guys, Alam Flora, can help us. Then you met with Alam Flora, and they said, oh, we cannot. You know, we can't really pick up, you know, separate. And then we realized the cleaners recycle already. Let's work with the cleaners. Let's make it happen. Let's give the cleaners the chance to have a higher recycling rate by setting up a system that makes it easier for the cleaners to pick up all over the condo separated waste. Because at the moment, what they have to do is they have to recover the recyclables from the mixed up rubbish that includes curry, sauce, and all sorts of other makan all over the place. So, but they still recovered 100 kilos of mainly paper waste and some aluminium cans. We will see the statistics later on. The nice thing is we've got all the data because they were selling it, so they have all of the receipts. So we can show over the years exactly how the recycling rate developed. And then after Gregor's discussed with the cleaners and the condo management, the conclusion was made, yes, we're going to implement it, one shelf for paper and cardboard, and one separate bin for bottles, cans, and plastic bottles. Job done. In addition to that, Gregor said, hey, let's keep the heavy metals away from the normal household waste. I think it was last year, which water reservoir was it? One of the water reservoirs was closed down because there was toxic leachate coming from one of the waste disposal sites. Batteries, CDs, and some other heavy metal loaded stuff like your computers, people throw them in normal household waste. A couple of years later, the heavy metals in that waste, you know, the bacteria start eating into it. Some of the heavy metals get diluted, they go into the water, then the water kind of moves into the rainwater reservoir. That's exactly what happened half a year ago. One of the water reservoirs was actually closed down, and some of the water supply in KL was stopped for a while. People don't really make that connection. They just throw everything in the bin, and we kind of felt it was good to keep the batteries and the CDs separate. So you will see that later on as well. There's an extra little container to keep the batteries and the CDs separated from the normal household waste. If you implement it in your condo, it's nice to do it, but I would say it's not an absolute necessity. The key important thing is get the paper separated and the cardboard, get the cans. The cans is the most valuable, aluminium. to produce aluminium in the first place requires huge amounts of electricity. That's why in Sarawak, some of those over-spec, unnecessary hydro dams that are being built, the only way they can make them work commercially is by attracting aluminium smelters there. Because aluminium smelters are some of the world's most energy-intense industries. So recycling aluminium is commercially very viable because you need a fraction of the energy to melt the aluminium and turn it into a can again compared to using raw aluminium. So that's why aluminium cans are fetching the highest price of the recyclables usually. So aluminium cans, very, very good. Plastic, okayla, glass, there's hardly any market in Malaysia for glass recycling. It could even be a business opportunity. In some other countries, people turn glass into construction industry aggregate. Now, under Green Building Index, you can get extra points for recycled aggregates. If you have a machinery that turns it into not sharp but round, different size recycled aggregates, you might actually be able to turn it into a valuable material for the construction industry. But at this point in time, it's very difficult to find a buyer for recycled glass. So paper, good market. Cans, excellent market. Plastic, okayla. And glass, difficult. By the way, this is Crystal. Hi, Crystal. Crystal has been helping us to kind of coordinate this event and set up the group on Facebook. She just finished her course at TAR College and she's been volunteering to help us with this initiative. So one applause for Crystal. So I will hand over to Gregers, who is the real mastermind. Hi. Iqbal, Recycle and Reward. One of the guys you can sell your recyclable items to. So the real mastermind behind the initial recycling system and the design of our recycling system that you will see there, Gregers.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming. It's quite a good turnout, so let me just share a few slides because and this one is the latest one I've done, actually at a refugee school here in Malaysia. Yeah, because it was a busy day, I didn't really sort of update the slides for today's event, but it's essentially the same thing. So this is the one that has the most updated slides. So I'll just show you a few things, and afterwards we go and see the actual system, and just interrupt if you have any questions along the way. So this was basically a green sort of class that both Matthias and myself and one more did for this refugee school in Malaysia, or Somali. So one of the interesting things from that workshop was I asked basically people in this school, so how long time does it take for different kinds of wastes to decompose in nature? So if I just ask, like, maybe we can also have some guesses here. If we take, for example, a plastic bottle, how long time does that decompose? Any guesses, or roughly if you throw it in nature?
100 years.
500 years?
100 years.
100 years, okay. Say that? 1,000 years? 1,000 years, yes. Any other guesses? Okay, so let's see the answer, which might surprise you. And this is according to the star. And it was real interesting with these refugee children because their answers, as you can see, they guessed from 2 minutes to 2 years. And none of them were like, 2 or 3 hours, you throw it, then it's gone. And I was like, I almost couldn't stop laughing because like, what? That's a serious guess, but it was a serious guess. So no wonder you see so much trash in Malaysia. I was thinking afterwards because people honestly believe that it will just disappear so fast. Yeah, of course you just throw it because it will be gone in 2 minutes, right? But unfortunately, it's in this case 1 million years. So So it's very important that recycle, and when I showed the actual figures, then this was the expression, because we had this photographer at the event, Chulan, and yeah, that was quite, they just couldn't believe it, 1 million liters. And I actually calculated that this guess of 2 minutes was a factor, I think it was 260 million times wrong. Right? So it's not often you get an answer that's that incorrect. So anyway, okay, so let's move on. So yeah, this was a Somali class, so I just found something about camels. So actually, 50% of the camels in the desert of Sahara, they die from eating plastic bags. And some of them have these huge, because it sort of accumulates in their stomach. So they have found camels with these plastic balls that weigh up to 80 kilograms inside the stomach of the camel. So then they feel full, but in reality they're not full because it's all plastic, and then they die. So closer to home, I think this picture on the left is real scary. So this is a small sea turtle that has somehow got entangled in a plastic ring, and that has just sort of developed around that ring. And then of course you have the problem of lots of birds also eating all this plastic. So I found a study saying that you have about 1 million birds and 100,000 marine animals die each year from plastic that floats in the sea. So this is of course only things that float, so imagine all the things that go to the bottom floor. This is a nice video about the majestic plastic bag. You probably might know it, we won't see it now, but it's quite interesting. And this bag of course ends up in this huge Great Pacific garbage patch. There's actually 2 of them. So you can see this is the size of the US, right? So you have these 2 huge, like a soup of plastic waste just floating around out in the at sea, and it stretches down, I think it's about 10 meters. And this is of course a big problem for all the wildlife out there. And of course, this is only the things that float, so imagine how much is carried out by the rivers or whatever, and it's just at the bottom of the sea. Yeah, so it's crazy. So Matthias, he mentioned a little bit about the recycling and how you can actually save a lot of energy. So, and I think Matthias mentioned the aluminum cans. So you can actually see that if you make an aluminum can, let's see up here actually. If you make an aluminum can, then it's quite an energy, or just anything of aluminium is quite energy consuming. But if you make it from recycled aluminium, then you can save more than 90% of the energy. And this is of course why there's a price to recycled aluminium. So I think we fetch about 2 ringgit per kilogram of aluminium, because you can save so much energy. So therefore there's actually money in waste. And the richest woman in China, at least like 5-6 years ago, she was actually made all her money on recycled paper. That was how she became the richest woman in China. So, and we can also see it in this condo. I mean, the cleaners here are very happy to recycle because they can earn some extra pocket money. And in many condominiums, you will have almost like a fight between the cleaners who want to recycle, but then you have it on flora or the garbage people who come. But they sometimes refuse to collect the trash if the cleaners don't leave behind the plastic bottles or the aluminum cans for them to recycle, because they can also make extra money. So there's actually money in all this trash, and that was quite interesting to me. Okay. Then this was quite a nice chart I found in National Geographic. So here you can see the recycling rate of different countries. So this is only for paper recycling. So this is from 0 to 100%, and this is glass recycling. So from 0 to 100. So the country that's actually at 100% both for paper and for glass is Japan. So they recycle very well. This is my country, this is Denmark. So we are quite good at paper, but we actually recycle more than 100% of the glass. And that's because when we import wine bottles or whatever, beer bottles to Denmark, they're not produced in Denmark, but we import them, and we also recycle those. So that's how we get more than 100%. And the European average is this where this cross meets, as far as I remember. And the United States is actually okay on paper, but not so much on glass. So they're actually lagging a bit behind. So Europe is further ahead, and then of course here in Asia, look to Japan, Korea is also quite high. It's a little difficult to read, but anyway. So
Germany.
Yeah. Where's Germany? Oh yeah, Germany. Yeah, yes. And the size of the bubble is then the amount of waste. So of course, the bigger country, the bigger amount. But I think it's more the percentage that's interesting. And I think Malaysia is, I'm not sure if there's any official figures, I've seen a few, but I mean, we're somewhere down here. At least the official ones. But there's a lot of unofficial recycling happening, so I'm not really sure. But I'm sure there's room for improvement. And this is also a chart showing what gets recycled over time. So this is how much of the waste gets recycled, and this is how much of it goes to the landfill or is incinerated. And this is from, I think, from years 2000 to 2010 or something like that. So you can see the amount of things that get recycled increase, but also the amount that goes to the landfill also increases. So you, of course, you have to look at the whole picture. And a lot, this is US data, right? There's a lot of these recyclables, potential recyclables that are actually going to the landfill. They should all be sort of pushed out in this part of the chart. So we can definitely improve, and especially in Malaysia. I mean, that's why I originally set up this recycling station, because it's just so foreign to me to go to one trash bin and just throw everything in the same bin, especially batteries. How can you do that? It's like almost criminal, I think, in Denmark. So initially I would bring it back to Denmark when I was back to recycle my batteries there. So, but it's not, of course, something I grew up with, and it's a process. Okay, so then we get to our system here in this condo. So the original trash room, I mean, this is the original trash room, so it's 1 by 1 meter, and there was only this bin in the middle. So everything went in there, and this is where we met up with the management and the cleaners and asked why don't we try to set up a recycling system. And they were very happy. The management thought it was a good idea. The cleaners were very happy because at that meeting we found out they were already recycling informally. So if they could get the separation of the waste at the source, that would be very good, especially for paper. Because when you throw like newspaper, this kind of thing in here, and then the next neighbor comes with all that food waste, which is often quite wet, then you can't really recycle that paper. So separating that at the source is much better. So what we decided, also given the limited space and in collaboration with the cleaners, was to do it like this. So we squeezed in a small bin where you put all the bottles, so all the plastic, all the aluminum cans, and all the glass. And then we put out a shelf here to put paper and cardboard. And then this one was on the request of the cleaners, for example, CDs. I actually didn't really know that that was a recyclable, so I attracted a recyclable item, but it apparently has some metal or some plastic. So they were very keen to that, so we made a basket for batteries and CDs on the top shelf. So it looks a little bit jammed, but the total amount of waste, of course, doesn't increase. We just distribute it differently in the room. So, and the cleaners anyway come daily and remove it, so there's no problem of overflowing, and I mean, unless they don't empty it every day, sometimes they're more flexible on that.
Maybe just on this is really the key. Once we've got this in place, the system works by itself. So the key challenge is to convince the condo management to make this happen. I mean, in our case, Greg had one chat with them and they were on board. This is a fairly small condo. The material that was used here was quite cheap. It came down to 740. I think the overall cost was for the whole condo.
That's on the next slide, 700.
Yeah, 700. The condo management said yes. Our backup plan was we're going to pay for it. That's not necessarily what you should be doing. But just imagine, once this is in place, the system runs by itself. Have you spent any time on this in the last 3 years?
Only talks like this.
No, nothing. Once this was implemented, it's been running by itself. Yes, there are occasionally situations like what I saw, the cleaner puts their little things in there, and this is then covered by their little gadgets rather than that. You might, if you see things like that, you might want to speak with the cleaners, hey guys. But at the end of the day, nothing's perfect. What is key is that we get results. The main result is residents come in here, or even mates, they kind of see this, they kind of get used to it. And they kind of start doing it, even though we haven't done any major training here. We haven't done any major, one set of flyers, the rest was all word of mouth, people seeing it, intuitively actually doing it. Because you kind of see other people putting the paper and cardboard on there, okay la, you put the paper and cardboard on there. It's not rocket science. And even if people make mistakes, the cleaners have an interest in cleaning up those mistakes because every kilogram for them is a couple of pennies. It counts. So, we don't need to get it perfect. Even the implementation doesn't need to be perfect. We're going to go up there later on and it might not look perfect. We never had the intention for it to be perfect, but what counts is the result at the end. And you will see that that is what the cleaner sold, that is the fact. That is what has been recycled. If we all do it, if you all do it, a couple of 100 kilos will be added to the total amount of stuff that is being recycled in the country. We don't intend to be perfect. You will have hiccups. You will have people saying, wow, cannot. How can it work? We need to do this, we need to do that. Too expensive. We do it already. We'll talk about that later on a little bit. I have moved to a new condo in Mount Chiara. First thing I did was talk with the condo management there. They said, we're doing it already. How come my German friend who lives here since 9 years doesn't know that there's any recycling going on here? So you have all of these little bits and bobs that are going to crop up. We'll do a little bit of a thing about that later on. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's a very good point. I mean, it's so easy to install. In our case, it was done in 2 weeks. And the management was in on the idea, the cleaners were very keen. I just sort of facilitated a bit, okay, so like draw it out, let's put it in the shelf, this kind of thing. Is that a good idea? The cleaner said yes, and then they just did it. But of course, a lot of people have been interested in this. I've been to other condominiums to help them in this so-called difficult process, but it's not that difficult actually. But what I often see, or what I've seen in some of them, is that the management will typically be a little bit, I mean, to them it can be sort of extra trouble. So they really need, they're not going to do this on their own accord, unless they are sort of really environmentalists, which is unlikely. So those condos that get it done is where you have a resident, I guess like myself, who's quite passionate about it and who's willing to sort of take those meetings, follow up, and just say, yeah, let's get it done. And this is exactly what your role. You will be that person that makes sure to have this 1 or 2 meetings and to follow up. And it could just be 1 or 2 meetings, literally, and then it will be up and running. But it's important that there's some driver there. And then I've also seen in some of the condos I've been to where there would be maybe a resident sort of coming into the management office. Oh, that sounds interesting. I'm actually part of the residents committee. And then, we need to discuss that at the residents committee and this kind of thing. And And I just have a feeling those people in the residence committee, they are maybe in that committee because they just have a lot of time in their hands. And like to sit and discuss things like that. And yeah, I mean, it's just, then they want a pilot project and raise all kinds of concerns and all kinds of things. So then it never takes off because then you sort of lose the momentum. So I would advise when you go out, just speak to the management and the cleaners. Don't involve the residents committee necessarily. As we did here, we just did it, and the residents are very happy with it. I mean, once it's implemented, I'll show you the survey results later. Everyone is so happy. And don't kill it off because there's some bureaucrats who like to sit and talk and make things more difficult than they really are. Okay, let's see, what else? Then, one of the lessons we learned was that this bin here, it has a lid. So originally we just didn't put the lid because, never mind, people could just throw it. But sometimes people are lazy, you know, so when you come with your trash, some people, whenever they see an open bin, they will just throw it in that one because that's just the easiest in the spare of the moment. So we learned that it's better to leave the lid on this one because then it's equally difficult, you would say, to throw the trash, and then okay, they will throw it the right place. Small things like that you will learn along the way, and also it's not a problem in this condo, but in other condos, people don't want to step inside the trash room. They can be quite reluctant to that, especially if it's a bit smelly and this kind of thing. So I think it's often a good idea to see if you can make it a little bit like we have done, where everything is reachable from the doorstep, so you don't have to step inside, but you can just sort of distribute it. But that's very sort of dependent on what kind of condo you have. The condo in that refugee school, or the apartment block, had a trash room which was also something wide like this, but then was 5 meters deep. And the eventual proposal, I mean, they're sort of working on it, but is to put the bins all the way along the wall in there. But I seriously don't think anyone will walk to the bin at the back because it's not so well maintained, this place. So this kind of issues is some of those things we can, those are those experiences that we learned along the way. So assume that, I mean, just make it easy for people and try not to rely on the fact that people have to walk into the trash room because they prefer just to stay on the outside. Or not, maybe one step in or something, but not more than that. Let's see. The driver, of course, is that the cleaners, they get to keep the money because they're the ones doing all the work. So some people want the cleaners to share the profits with the management, which might also be fine. I think most Malaysians would be of that opinion based on our survey. So because the management will have to fork out the money anyway to install the system, so it's maybe fair enough they get some of the money, but this can be worked out in the condo. But if the management wants to take all the money, then the cleaners don't have the incentive. So I would not encourage that model.
Yeah, the condo that I moved into is doing their own condo recycling, apparently, but nobody knows about it. And when I asked them how much do you actually recycle each month, they couldn't give me any figure. Then when I told them we implemented a system that works and the cleaner's going to keep the money, the lady, oh no. Any money has to go back into the management committee. So I haven't pushed it further. I wanted to do it in parallel with you guys. So I'll have to find a way to fix that one. So I have had a look at how it works. But what I've observed is the cleaners actually grab the recyclables and channel it not into the official recycling system, but into their own recycling system. No surprise, right? Because they want to earn some makan money. So once we start implementing this in parallel, we can then as well share experiences. I will propose this. You know, I will ask them, how much are you making at the moment? And they'll come up with a figure that's ridiculously little, because nobody is using the official recycling system, because nobody knows about it, and it's too far away. It's usually the same in every condo where they have a recycling system. It's one base station somewhere that is too far away, nobody goes there because it's inconvenient. In my condo, it's hidden somewhere in the back where nobody goes to, nobody sees there are some recycling there. And I have not seen a single person actually going there. And when I looked into it, the bins looked empty. But I've seen the cleaners with a handful of paper walk in there, not put it into the recycling system, but take it into the trash room to store it up, to do their own sales of recyclables. So my proposal will be, let's share the spoils. Let's make it happen, because then everybody wins. And that then can justify, because most condos will say, no, we're not going to spend any money unless we're going to recover the money. So we might have to come up with a calculation, what's your ROI on your investment for a condo recycling system. So I think in my condo I will have to come up with that. I will have to estimate a figure, and I will say at the moment, you are losing all of this money, because nobody knows about it, nobody is doing it. Your official recycling system is virtually empty. So we need to play it, depending on the situation that we face in our best is, do a survey first. What is actually happening at the moment? Before you propose anything, understand the current situation. And then play your cards. That is actually the only challenge with this recycling system. The only challenge is to convince the powers to be in your condo that this is the best solution for everyone. For the condo, for the residents, for the management, for the cleaners, and for the planet. If you can do that one, job done. But to get there, you need to understand what is going on, who is playing what kind of cards, and what players have you got. I will first try it bottom up with the condo management. If that doesn't work, I'll get a hold of somebody on the top and boom, go down from there.
Yes. But I think we have already documented that it's a win-win situation for everyone. So I'll show you the documentation on that. So you have much stronger cards when you go out, because you can just point to this condo and say, this was the feedback from the residents, which I'll show you in a second. This one is quite important, I think, because this is a A4 size poster, laminated, that we put on the door to the trash room. So that means before people go inside the trash room, they already know where the recyclables should go. Because what happens, for example, with this bin, when the cleaners have emptied it, maybe they put it back in so the label is at the back. Maybe there's some cardboards or box blocking this label here, so they can't see that this is for box and paper and this kind of thing. So having this kind of poster and also saying what you should do, I mean basically empty the things, crush the cans and this kind of thing, means that people already know where the different things go before they open that door. So I think that's quite an important poster to have. Otherwise, if it gets a little bit chaotic in there, the residents might get confused and the success rate might be less. This one I think I already touched upon, but maybe point number 2, make it easy for the residents to recycle. So in this case we did it in the existing trash room where people are used to going anyway. I think that should be the approach to take. Matthias' condo, it's a different floor, ground floor or something, and in a room somewhere where you don't naturally pass by anyway. That makes it much more difficult, and then you lose 90% of the people already by doing that. So maybe put it in the existing trash room. That would be my recommendation. This was that circular for the residents that we circulated, just 2 pages with a little schematic of this is how it works, and this was that one I started out with the decomposition time. Yeah, that's all. And you can just download that from the homepage. So you just fill in your own letterhead. And So it's like a do-it-yourself kit in a way. Then we held a press conference to spread the idea back in 2009. And this is then the cost breakdown. So all together, yeah, it came down to almost 700 ringgit for the whole condominium. So less than 8 ringgit per unit. So you can sort of use these figures as like approximate figures for the costing.
But we had this one condo, Myra, one of our Ecowarriors. She implemented it in like a high-end condo, mainly with Japanese people living in there. They wanted like high-end stuff. So their costs actually went up because they had much more sophisticated shelves and stuff like that. And even their bins were more singing and dancing. So, you know, this is the base cost for a simple version. But that might depend on how your management committee thinks. Or how, you know, whether they want to have a contractor doing the drilling and stuff like that, you know, so that might be a little bit variable.
Yes. Yeah, very true. Yeah, I think, for example, on the bins, the small bin that we bought that you'll see later is quite cheap. But once you get like a real trash bin with wheels and this kind of thing, that becomes substantially more expensive. So yeah, you will find out. But I wasn't involved in all this. I mean, it was just the management that contacted the normal sort of handyman, and then they got it up and running in 2 weeks. So this slide shows the price for these recyclables. So this slide is a little bit old by now, but basically this is the rates that Alamtora pays. So for 1 kilogram of newspaper, you get 10 cents. This is a recycle and reward, so they pay a bit more.
Igmar is there.
Yes, exactly.
Is that still correct, roughly?
It is, everything is the same.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So you actually take glass bottles as well, still?
That's right.
Yeah.
And you have a way, you have an off-taker that recycles them for you?
Sorry?
You have somebody that actually takes them from you and recycles them?
Yes, we have now. They basically climb.
Okay.
So they process it to become like use as a landfill, use it as a plant as well.
Okay.
Survey a bit closer because it was Malaysians and non-Malaysians. The non-Malaysians, I think it was 88% also thought the attractiveness increased.
Yeah, so how much is it going to cost? I mean, we have 100 units here in the condo. I mean, is it going to cost us an arm and a leg?
No, it's like 2 times nasi lemak for apartments.
Really? So how much is that nasi lemak cost?
Well, it's
Is
about
it 5 ringgit nasi lemak? Wow. Very expensive. So 2 times nasi lemak per apartment.
Yeah.
Okay. So how long is it going to take for us to recover that money?
Well, I would say instantly, because you will have more sales of units.
But the units are all sold. We only need to rent them. No more sales needed. And the money doesn't go back to us.
The rental
It goes back to the owners. So we don't have anything from that as management committee. I have a limited budget. I have to turn every ringgit around. I can't even buy nasi lemak for our committee. How are you expecting me to, you know, pay 2,000 ringgit for all of this fancy recycling stuff?
The owners will be so happy. They will come to you and give you an award maybe for...
I don't need any rewards. I don't need nasi lemak. I can't even get nasi lemak, you know. I mean, I would be dreaming of rewards.
I think if you want it, you can request for a lifetime nasi lemak delivery.
Are you going to sponsor it?
The owner will, he will sell his unit then. Maybe a 30% higher price or something.
Gregor, how long do you actually live in Malaysia? then you know as well that an owner doesn't give anything about it. Eh?
Sure.
Because if an owner, most people here, or a lot of people here, they buy units as an investment.
Yes.
And they are not interested what you as a committee or management are doing. As long as the place is clean, they're happy. As long as the price increases, they're happy.
Yeah.
You will have a damn hard time to convince an owner, you will have a that hard time.
Yeah. Well, I would say that I seriously believe that survey is quite interesting because it shows that
Your survey is completely full.